Hi, I'm Lisa. Welcome to the This Calls for Confetti YouTube channel. In this video, I'll be talking about the Chatty A2 cover plate die and stencil, as well as the Love paper pad. We'll also be making two quick and simple Valentine cards using these awesome products. Now, if you're new here and you're enjoying what you see, I kindly ask that you not only subscribe, but also share our channel. It's a massive help to us and we genuinely appreciate it. So let's kick this off by having a quick look at the Love 6x6 paper pad. I want to point out that the pattern sizes are a bit larger than what you typically find in other 6x6 paper pads. Personally, I prefer the larger patterns, especially for my shaker cards, as it's much easier to see and appreciate. Now, while this paper pad was designed with Valentine's Day in mind, it can definitely be used throughout the year. I absolutely love that traditional red, white, and pink for Valentine's Day. And we also have some really fun mixes that complement this pad that you're going to want to check out. I'm going to be sharing some of those later on in the video. Plus, I want you to stick around with me because at the end of the video, I have several samples that I've created that I want to share with you to give you an idea of what all you can do with the Chatty die, stencil, and the Love 6x6 paper pad. Okay, let's move on to the Chatty die and stencil. These products are both 4¼ by 5½ inches A2 size and can be used together or as standalone products. I just want to point out that when you purchase either of these products, you'll receive a free printable that will be emailed directly to you after your purchase. Now, some of you may be wondering why speech bubbles. Well, personally, I love speech bubbles. I've always found them to be so fun and versatile. You can keep a stash of these for character sentiments or use them as is. Let's be real, sometimes I have a lot to say, and what better way to express that than with a bunch of speech bubbles? So this is a great product for us because of all the different variations we can come up with, giving you years of use with both of these products. So I mentioned earlier there's a complimentary printable with the purchase of the Chatty stencil and Chatty A2 cover plate. Once you complete your purchase, you'll receive an email containing a link to download that free printable PDF file. And you want to make sure you have the orientation set to landscape and you fit the page before printing on 8½ by 11-inch cardstock using either an inkjet or laser printer. Now, if you opt for that laser printer, you can use transfer foil to add a little shine. Just remember that foil designed for hot stamping systems is not compatible with laser printed materials. Now, you need a foil like deco foil if you're going to use this with foiling. The best results I have found are with my Mink machine, and I use the number 3 setting. But if you have a laminator, by all means, go ahead and use that instead. Along the bottom of the printable, you'll find user-friendly instructions that are going to guide you through using this fun resource. It's essential to keep the black bounding box intact as it serves as an alignment marker for die cutting. I have designed it in such a way that allows some margin for error, just in case you don't have that perfect alignment. You're still going to be able to use the speech bubbles once they're die cut. So let's have a look at how to cut these down. You can use scissors or your paper trimmers to cut the printable. You want to be mindful if you want to preserve those user-friendly instructions and avoid cutting that black box if you're using the Chatty die. Now, if you just want to print this out and use it with the stencil to do some quick ink blending, then you don't have to worry about preserving those black boxes. I printed this out on vellum using my laser printer, and I am going to foil it with some gorgeous red foil from Gina K and Deco Foil. So let's go ahead and trim away as much of the excess as possible, remembering it's very important to leave that black box around that because that's what's going to help us align our die so we get perfect placement and a perfect cutout speech bubbles. So I do have some samples here of a couple of things I printed out and I foiled. I printed on a bunch of different types of material. I did vellum, white cardstock. I even used like a silver foiled cardstock and used rainbow foil on that. It turned out so pretty. I did gold and silver, but you can see here using my Brother monochromatic printer, laser printer, it does a great job. So we're going to go ahead now and show you how easy it is to line this up and run it through your die cutting machine and then use these sentiments on a card. So this is incredibly easy. You simply place the die inside that printed box, ensuring that the sides, top, and bottom are aligned with the box. Once you have it in place, you want to secure it with a low-tack tape. I use Scotch removable tape. I find it works great. And then you're going to run it through your die cut machine. Now, one of the things that I want to point out about A2 cover plate dies is if you're using any type of magic mat or even the self-healing mats that a lot of us use in place of the magic mat, you're going to want to flip this upside down. So you're going to want the cutting edges of the die facing up with your cardstock laying over it, and then put a cutting plate over it. That way you're going to ensure that it properly cuts through your cardstock and you're not going to end up with areas that didn't cut. Because what I found was with the magic mat, if I laid the die flat down, the paper, the cardstock, and then the die was on top of the cardstock, and ran it through, it didn't want to cut all the way through because there's a lot there that's going on. There's a lot of cutting that has to happen, and that pressure is not there when it's pressing down into the self-healing mat. If you flip it upside down like I'm cranking it through now, you're going to get that nice pressure from the cutting plate, which is the way it's supposed to be when you're using a die cutting machine. And you're going to see that these cut perfectly by doing it this way. So we're going to go ahead and flip this over. I'm going to grab my lift and release tool. I'm gently pressing the release end of the tool through the holes on the back of the die to pop all the die cut pieces out. And you'll see how the way I have this set up to print out and cut, it makes it so easy. And like I mentioned earlier, you do have some room for error. You might end up with one of the sentiments not being perfectly centered, but I guarantee you it won't be enough that the recipient is going to really notice it. But you see how quick and easy I ran that through my die cutting machine, and it cut out perfectly. So let's jump into some quick cards, and then we're going to look at some samples at the end of the video. I had so much fun creating this card using the Love 6x6 paper pad and the Chatty die. I used my die cutting machine to cut out speech bubbles from the pattern paper, and to make sure they were positioned perfectly, I secured the Chatty stencil to my card base with removable tape. You could use the negative piece left over from your die cutting to do this. I also used round foam adhesives to attach the speech bubbles in their designated spots. Now, removing the stencil revealed a quick and simple card that I absolutely love. What's even better is that you can make multiple cards using just 3 sheets of the 6x6 paper and save the negative pieces for future shaker cards with our A2 acetate sheets. Another thing is this type of card is great for kids because you can do all the die cutting ahead of time and then just set them down and give them that negative piece attached to a card base, give them some round foam adhesives, and it's like a puzzle for them. And just let them play with it and have a good time and create these really cute cards for teachers or friends, whoever they may want to create them for. Now, real quick, I want to guide you through the process of creating a fun infinity shaker card using our full front shaker pockets. I'm going to be using the mini slim shaker pockets for this card. I love this because you can take one 6x6 piece of pattern paper, you can cut it in half and create 2 mini slim shaker cards with it. So to get started, you're going to want to mat that pattern paper so that it fits inside the mini slim. You can use colored cardstock or just take a white piece of cardstock and run an ink pad or marker along the outer edges of the cardstock to create your mat for your pattern paper. Then you're going to center the pattern paper on that, and you can use liquid adhesive or you could use a tape runner to secure the pattern paper to your matting. So like I said, just cut your pattern paper into 2 pieces. On the 3-inch mark, you'll have 2 pieces 3x6, and then mat it either way. Both ways are pretty simple. I know sometimes we want to hang on to our colored cardstock, So I have found that using a white piece of cardstock and just running around the edges of it with an ink pad or a marker that matches my pattern paper is a great alternative to that. Now, you're going to notice there's a protective film on the front of the pocket. It's best to leave the film on there while you're working so you don't have to worry about any scuff marks once you're done. You're going to begin by folding the side flaps and creasing them with a bone folder. Afterwards, I just unfold the flaps and carefully center that pattern paper. We're going to remove the release paper and fold that flap over onto securing it to that cardstock. We're going to repeat that process 2 more times to close up the sides of the full front shaker pocket. And what I like to do is start in the center of the flap and then fold out to one direction and then come back. And then I burnish it repeatedly with my finger and a bone folder just to ensure that I'm getting a good bond between the cardstock and the adhesive. So once I finish this flap, I'm going to go ahead, rotate, and work on the other side flap. Another thing that I want to point out is that when I'm doing this, I hold that piece of paper in the center of my shaker pocket while I'm working. Even once I secure it down on that bottom flap, I'm still holding it securely in place just so it doesn't twist or shift or anything like that, because we know in paper crafting things happen. And I just found that if I hold it, I don't have to worry about it. I open up the top of the pocket and I put a little bit of mix in there. Now, this is a new mix for us. This is called the Sweetest Kiss. I love how it plays with this paper. It has pinks and whites and reds in it. And it has some tiny little acrylic gems in there that look like little diamonds. We're going to go ahead now and close up our shaker by removing that release from the back of the pocket there and closing that flap, securing it down. But back to that Sweetest Mix, it has little pieces of candy in it that are pink and white. It also has red and pink lips in it. It has a little white round polymer clay disc in it with a red heart in it. It just goes with this. We have 2 mixes in the shop that are perfect with this paper, and one is the Sweetest Kiss, and the other one is by the same name as the paper pad, Love. So be sure you check those out. So now it's time to go ahead and remove the plastic from the shaker pocket. And now you won't have to worry about scratching it up or anything happening to it while you were working with it. So once I have the plastic film removed from the shaker pocket, I'm going to start laying down double-sided sequin tape. And I want you to notice the placement of the tape. I think a lot of times when people are creating these shaker cards, the infinity shaker cards, they want their card base to run from this one side of the edge of the shaker to the other. But I feel like personally that kills the illusion of the infinity shaker, right? So what I like to do is just put my card base behind the card panel inside the shaker. That way I'm not killing that infinity look. And I just think it works better this way. Another thing is because of the type of pocket this creates, it almost gives like a pillow effect. A lot of times, if you try to put a piece of cardstock all the way, secured all the way down to that, it's not going to lay flat. It's going to cause your cardstock to bow. So by not applying tape all the way out to the edge, but by keeping it only along the edges of those flaps and pulling that tape in some when you're laying it down, you're going to avoid your cardstock wanting to bow and your card's going to stand up nice and straight like you see here. So here you can see I'm lining up that speech bubble with the lips. I'm going to add a couple of foam adhesives to the back of this. You could do square or round. I'm going to be using our round foam adhesives. Now they're like a low profile foam adhesive, so if you're looking for just a tiny bit of dimension, these are great for that. These are not great for creating shaker cards using our A2 acetate. They're not thick enough for that. Eventually that will be coming, but for right now I wanted to start with a low profile so that I could add things to the front of these shaker pockets and not create a bunch of bulk. I've shared 2 cards with you. I've shared the Chatty die, the Chatty stencil, and the Love 6x6 paper pad. Plus, I talked a little bit about a couple of the mixes that we now have in the shop that go with this. And let me know down in the comments what you think. I do have some samples here that I want to share with you. So this is just a variation of the first card that we made in the video. It's on black cardstock instead of white, and it has gold foiled sentiments instead of the red. So here we just used the free printable along with the die and added those to a black cardstock using foam adhesives to create some dimension with it. And we have a quick and simple Valentine card. So here you can see I did ink blending with Distress Oxide inks on the speech bubbles and then die cut them out. I want to do a full walkthrough tutorial with you to show you how to go about creating that bounding box using your die, so you get that great die cut speech bubbles every time. And again, I used that stencil afterwards. I had ink blended these and laid them all out and adhered them to the black card base. And then I decided I really want gold splatters on this. So I just used my stencil and masked off my card base and added the splatters and then removed the stencil, and I was ready to go. I did add a quick thinking of you sentiment from the free printable. And you can see here, this can be used for so much more than Valentine's Day. This is a great guy card. Another fun infinity shaker card, this time using the A2 full front shaker pockets that we have in the shop. Plus we have that love mix that I talked about earlier in the video that goes with the paper pad. I love how quick and simple these cards are. They're a lot of fun. They're great for kids. Kids love anything that shake up, right? So I just used another one of the little sentiments from the free printable and just added that on using the low profile dimensionals that we have in the shop. So this is probably my favorite out of all the cards I made for the video. I love this one because I feel like it really shows you how everything comes together with these products. We have the love pattern paper. We have that Sweetest Kiss mix in that full front A2 shaker pocket. Then we have the free printables that you're going to get with the purchase of the Chatty stencil or the Chatty die. And you remember, inkjet printer or laser printer. Laser printer will let you foil these in a Mink machine or a laminator. And I love that the speech bubbles go with the lips and the pattern paper pack. There's just so much I'm loving about this. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I also have everything linked down below that I use throughout the video. So if you want to check it out, you can head over to thiscallsforconfetti.com and browse around, or just click the links down below to find the products I used. Please know how much we appreciate you for joining us for the videos, and if you could subscribe and share the video content, that would be great. Also, over on the blog, we have bloggers now that are going to be sharing content throughout the month with you. So many fun things happening, and we're super excited to continue to grow. We're going into our 3rd year here, and we're just really excited about things that are happening. Let me know again what you think down in the comments, and until next time, please take care.